Here are TikTok's most popular songs so far in 2025. And today I'm going to show you how to recreate each of their viral synths from scratch. Some of these sounds are incredible, but after this video you'll realize that most of them are super easy to recreate. To follow along, all you'll need is some motivation, some ears, and Serum 2. That's the synth that we'll be building these out in. For each song on this list, I'll choose one of the main synth parts and then I'll recreate it from the ground up. We'll start off by recreating some synths from some lesser popular songs according to TikTok first, but you'll probably still recognize them. Then we'll work our way down the list, getting more and more popular as we go on until we finally get to the granddaddy most popular song of 2025 so far, which I'm sure you've heard a zillion times. How much is a zillion? Let's hop in. The first synth on this list isn't from one of the most popular songs so far this year, but the synth in it is incredible. The song is called QKDHR by Aphex Twin, the electronic music wizard. It sounds like this. Sound familiar? I bet it does. Isn't that sound just cool? Let's pull up Serum and start making it. The sound in this song actually comes from a live instrument called a harmonium. It's like if you combined a piano with the bellows of an accordion. Luckily for us, the newest version of Serum has a harmonium sampled into it, so we don't have to do too much. We'll click up here, wavetable, go to multi-sample, click here, factory, keys, harmonium, and we're already off to a pretty good start. But this sound isn't quite as complex as the original Aphex Twin sound. To add to it, I've created something a bit more complex. In this first shot, I'm using the AT Loquelic Iteredius PM. What a name. Then in the second oscillator, I'm using the Square Drift JX3P. These are both wavetables. And then in the third wavetable, I'm using the harmonium and combining all three. What's also different about this sound is the envelope itself. I'm slowly swelling up. This first envelope is controlling all of the sounds here. It helps to give that wow sound that happens when you open the bellows. The other thing that I'm doing on this one is I added a filter that's controlled by the second envelope. That means if I hold something longer, you can hear that that filter is going to make it bigger. It's like on the bellows if you just opened it up more. It's the same effect that happens if you can do it with your mouth like this. Same thing. I've used a multi-band compressor to help bring out some of the highs a little bit. I added a delay with eighth notes. Let's hear what the final product sounds like compared to the original. Here's the original. And here's our synth. Also, if making this synth seemed a little bit too complicated, you can download these in the description below, upload them to Serum 2, and just have the presets for free. Next up on our list, we've got a slightly more popular song that's resurrected itself over the past beginning of 2025. It's La 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 by Naughty Boy and Sam Smith, specifically the sped up version. This song has made a significant comeback this year and surge in popularity since it was originally released in 2013. But let's figure out how to make one of the synths in it. The synth that we'll recreate is that first pluck that you hear at the beginning of the song. Now, the version that everyone's been jamming out to is the sped up version, but to make this recreation easier, we're going to use the original version, and then we can always speed it up later. As I was making this synth, this particular sound sounded very familiar to me, so much so that I actually used a different synth to what I think is actually the preset that they might have used. That synth that I use is called Omnisphere, and the patch that I chose was... I'll load it in. The patch that I chose from Omnisphere was called Classic Nylon Guitar, and you'll see that it sounds already pretty similar. Pretty accurate. But let's recreate this in Serum 2 for the same thing. In Serum 2, it's actually pretty simple. What I did here is I loaded in a multi-sample for the first one, and I found the guitar AC Paracho pick to help emulate that kind of guitar sound. And then in the second oscillator, I have an analog BD sine, which is one of my go-tos for Serum creation. I changed the envelope so that I have a plucky sound going on here. I did a couple things here to make this sound a little bit more unique. I took the envelope here and I dragged it on the weight and position of the analog sine table. So as it plays, you can see each pluck is going to play through that whole wavetable. And then I also drag this onto here and put it on the level so that every time the sine wave plays, it will go through this same envelope kind of like twice. Just to give it some more pluckiness. I did the same thing here with this filter and I just took off the very high end. Here's what the original slowed down version sounds like at the beginning. And then I'll play you both of these versions I made. And here's what this version sounds like. the Serum version, and the Omnisphere version. Pretty close. Pretty close. The next sound that I'm about to show you comes from one of the most avant-garde, unique, creative pieces of music I've heard in a long time. I'm not even going to play you this sound. I'm just going to recreate it in Serum right away, because once you hear it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. All you have to do in Serum is open a new instance of it, turn off all of the oscillators, and bam. No, seriously, this is actually the second most popular song on TikTok in 2025 so far. It's called No Sound. I don't know if the guy who decided to copyright No Sound is making any money off this, but this is genius. And you know who else are geniuses? The people that subscribe to this channel. It's a well-known fact that people that subscribe to Music by Maddie will increase their IQ by, on average, 20 points. We've got some of the smartest musicians around. Come join the club. Next up on the list is one of the vibiest synths I've heard in a while. And it sounds like if you would record a piano underwater in a church. I don't know if that would ever happen, but that's what it sounds like. The song is called Aesthetic by Tollin Kim. Tollin? It's actually the third most popular song on TikTok in 2025. Probably not as immediately recognized as the next two on our list, and definitely not as streamed as the #1, but it's still pretty popular. Here's how to recreate it. For this synth, we're going to be using all three oscillators, and I'll walk you through what to put on each one. First one we'll be using is a multi-sample, so change it to multi-sample. Pianette, L-E, pianet, I don't know how to say that. Oscillator B, we have breathy piano-ish. It is a sample. Then for oscillator C, upright piano. Those are the three that you'll want in there. All that I did was put a filter on at around 800 hertz. I increased the release to around 700 milliseconds. I added some delay and some reverb in the effects. Let's see what it compares like to the original. Not too shabby. Next up on the list, we have the second most popular song of 2025 thus far. It is Luther by Kendrick Lamar, and SZA.
This world were mine. Hey, Roman numeral 7 beige.
There's a bunch of different synths we can recreate in this one, but I think the most interesting is that E-piano sound that happens right when the song drops. This one.
Hey, Roman numeral.
Also, for those curious out there, that original vocal that comes in and the sample of this song comes from a song called If This World Were Mine by Cheryl Lynn, featuring Luther Vandross, which is part of the reason why this song is called Luther. Fun fact for you. Pull up Serum 2. In this case, we're going to use all three oscillators again. We're going to go into multi-sample for the first one. We're going to factory, keys, and we'll choose electronic piano suitcase. Next up, we'll use a sample. This one's called So Soft from the Plucked one. Adds a really cool kind of plucked atmosphere. And then we'll use that analog BD sign in oscillator C. We'll throw on a filter at the very end, around 1000 hertz. We'll take up the release ever so slightly. And then for effects, we'll throw on a compressor, a multi-band compressor, and it looks like I dipped this down ever so slightly in the lows. And this is what the result is. Check it out. Let's hear how it compares to the original.
Hey, Roman numeral 7 beige.
Different notes that I played there, but same key. It's the same vibe. Well, 80%, 90% of the way there. And that brings us to the last song on the list. This song is the most popular song of TikTok in 2025 so far. Do you think you know what it is? It's a song that you've heard so many times already that you'd probably think it came out 100 years ago. It didn't. That song is Anxiety by Doechii.
Anxiety, keep on trying me. I feel.
And if you didn't know, the original sample from this song is from Gautier's Somebody That I Used to Know, which is a banger. The song has a bunch of different ideas that I can recreate, but I think I'm gonna start off with this bell sound that happens at the very intro. Let's open up Serum 2 and see what I did. We're gonna be using all three oscillators once again. In this one, we're gonna start with a marimba. Next up, oscillator B, going to multi-sample. Under mallet, xylophone. Check out the levels here. They're not exactly centered. This one is about 50%. This one's about 75%. Oscillator C, we have, once again, my favorite, the analog PD sign. Check out the envelope though. This one is a little bit different. I wanted a smidge of a pluck, so I just curved it down ever so slightly, adjusted it here, adjusted the release so that it has a little bit of a release. Then I use envelope 2 to make this analog sign even more plucky. I have it modulating the volume, so I just dragged it over here, adjusted it. Should also say that I have some convolution reverb on this, just like the original track. Let's hear how it sounds compared to the original. And R's one more time. Pretty close. And because the song is so nice, I'm gonna synthesize it twice. There's one more part that I wanted to recreate for you, and that is the bass line. I'll show you what that looks like in Serum. Once again, we're going to be using multi-samples. I can't tell you how clutch these are. I'm so glad that, that Serum added them. We'll go into multi-sample here. We'll go into factory. Strings, the first one we want is a double bass pizzicato orchestral. That's what Pitz Orc stands for. Next up, we have in the multi-sample on oscillator B, we have a plucked one, and we're going for the Cora MX. No idea what that is. If that's an instrument, awesome. Next up, we're going to go into the filter, and we're going to just cut off some of the high end here. This one's around 1400. We're going to change our envelope once again to make this a bit more plucky. We can just drag this curve so that it's plucky like this. The attack ever so slightly up at like 3 milliseconds, then we'll go for the release here. Finally, we're gonna run this through some effects. I use an EQ just to get rid of a smidge of, honestly, this isn't really even doing that much. You don't have to have that. Next up, we have the compressor, which is a multi-band compressor, and I boosted the mids here. Multi-band compressor with this boosted can be acted like an EQ sometime. And then next up, we have the reverb, just to put it in a space. And here's what this sounds like by itself. And here's what it sounds like in the track. So there's Tik-Tok's top songs of 2025 so far, and they're synths recreated. Go use them, go tweak them how you like. Once again, there are free presets in the description below if you don't want to spend the time tweaking the knobs like I did. Did I miss any obvious synths? Let me know in the comments below. If you watch this video and want to learn more about sound design and how to use Serum even better, you should watch this video I made up here.